students, welcome to Ideal Coaching Center. Audiobook of The Twisted Trial. Theme Peace and Harmony. Written by Victor Marie Hugo. About the author. Victor Marie Hugo was a French poet, novelist, and dramatist of the Romantic movement. Hugo is one of the greatest and best known French writers. Outside France, his most famous works are Les Miserables and The Hunchback of Notre Dame. The Twisted Trail. From the first words Inspector Javert pronounced on entering Monsieur Madeleine's office, at the moment when that name which the mayor had buried was uttered, he was seized with stupor. His first thought was to denounce himself, to drag Champetue out of prison, and to put himself in his place. He repressed this first impulse and recoiled before such heroism. Returning to his room, he bolted his door. But what he wanted to keep outdoors had entered his conscience. It seemed to him that he had awakened from some slumber, and he found himself gliding over a precipice upon the very edge of an abyss. He perceived in the gloom an unknown man whom fate had mistaken for him, and was pushing into the gulf in his place. It was necessary, in order that the gulf should be closed, that someone should fall in, he or the other. What am I afraid of? Said Monsieur Madeleine. After all, if there is any harm done to anybody, it is nowise my fault. It is decided. Let the matter alone. The resolution is formed. After the lapse of a few moments, he questioned himself upon this resolution formed. Madeleine declared that his life, in truth, did have an object. But what object? To conceal his name? To deceive the police? Had he no other object, which was the true one? To save his soul. To close the door on his past. But he was not closing it. He was reopening it by committing an infamous act, for he robbed another of his existence, his life, to become again the convict Jean Valjean that was to achieve his resurrection. He must go to Arras, deliver the wrong Jean Valjean, denounce the right one, and then, all at once, he thought of poor sick Fantine. My choice is made. This is in the interest of all, not in my own. I remain Madeleine. Woe to him who is Jean Valjean, thought he. Come, said he. There are some threads which lead me to this Jean Valjean in this very room. All this must disappear. He opened a secret door. In the closet was an old pair of trousers, a haversack, and a great thorn stake, iron bound at both ends. He threw them all in the fire, and in a few seconds it was all burning. Suddenly he recoiled with equal terror, for each of the two ideas which counselled him appeared as fatal as the other. For 5 hours he had been walking thus almost without interruption when he dropped into his chair. He fell asleep. When he woke up, he decided to attend the trial. When he reached the court in a few minutes, he found himself in a hall where there were many people. All eyes converged on a single point, on a man between two gendarmes. This was the man. Madeleine thought he saw himself older, not the same, but alike in attitude and appearance. Judges, clerks, gendarmes, a throng of heads, he had seen all this once before. The monstrous visions of the past. Madeleine looked for Inspector Javert, but did not see him. At the moment of his entrance, the counsel for the prisoner was finishing his plea. The counsel established that the theft of the apples was not in fact proved. His client Champetue had not been seen to scale the wall or break off the branch. He said that he found it on the ground. Undoubtedly there had been a thief, but what evidence was there that that this thief was Champatu? One single thing, that he was formerly a convict. The prosecuting attorney replied to the counsel, "This man is Jean Valjean. He was identified by four witnesses, Javert and three convicts, Brevet, Chantilly, and Cockapale. What had he to oppose this overwhelming unanimity?" The prosecuting attorney concluded by reserving entirely the Petit Gervais affair and demanding a sentence to the full extent of the law. The time had come for closing the case. The judge commanded the accused to rise and asked, "Have you anything to add to your defense?" He said, "I have been a wheelwright at Paris. That it was at Monsieur Balloup's too. I was 53. I earned only 30 sous a day. They paid me as little as they could. I am telling the truth. Go see Monsieur Balloup. I don't know what more you want of me." Monsieur Balloup, the former master wheelwright, could not be found. Turning to the accused, the judge said, "Prisoner, I question you the second time. First, did you steal the apples, with the addition of breaking into an enclosure? Secondly, are you or are you not Jean Valjean?" The prisoner was silent. "Prisoner," resumed the prosecuting attorney, "you have, you have replied to nothing that has been asked you." The accused exclaimed, "You're a very bad man. I never stole anything. I was coming from Ailey, walking alone, and I found a broken branch on the ground with apples on it, and I picked it up, not knowing what trouble it would give me. You talk about Jean Valjean? I don't know any such person. I have worked for Monsieur Balloux. My name is Champetue. What is everybody after me like a mad dog?" The prosecuting attorney addressed the judge. "Sir, we request you and the court to call again the convicts and Inspector Javert and to submit them to a final interrogation concerning the identity of the accused." "I must remind the prosecuting attorney," said the presiding judge, "that Police Inspector Javert, recalled by his duties to a neighboring district, left the city as soon as his testimony was taken. In the absence of Inspector Javert, I think it is my duty to recall to the jury what he said here a few hours ago. I do not need even moral presumptions and material proofs to contradict the denials of the accused. This man's name is not Champetue. He is a convict, Jean Valjean. I recognize him perfectly," said the prosecuting attorney. The prosecuting attorney concluded by insisting that the three witnesses should be interrogated anew. The judge gave an order to an officer. A moment afterward, accompanied by a gentleman led in Brevet. He was about 60 years old. "Brevet," said the judge, "look well upon the prisoner and say whether you still recognize this man as your former comrade in the galleys, Jean Valjean." Brevet looked at the prisoner, then turned to the court. "Yes, your honor, I was the first to recognize him. This man is Jean Valjean, who came to Toulon in 1796 and left in 1815. Chandelou was brought in, and the judge addressed nearly the same words to him as to Brevet. Chandelou burst out laughing. "Do I recognize him? We were 5 years on the same chain." The officer brought in Cockapale, and the judge asked him as he had the others. "It is Jean Valjean," said Cockapale, "the same they call Jean the Jack." At this moment a voice was heard exclaiming, "Brevet, Chandelou, Cockapale, look this way." A man who had been sitting among the privileged spectators had risen and was standing in the centre of the hall. The judge, the prosecuting attorney, Monsieur Bamatabois, 20 persons recognized him and exclaimed at once, "Monsieur Madeleine?" The man advanced towards the witnesses. "Do you not recognize me?" said he. All three stood confounded and indicated by a shake of the head that they did not know him. Madeleine said, "Gentlemen of the jury, he is not the man whom you seek. It is I. I am Jean Valjean. I have disguised myself under another name. I have become a mayor. I did rob Monsignor the Bishop. I did rob Petit Gervais. You will find in my house, among the ashes of the fireplace, the 40 sous piece of which I robbed of Petit Gervais. Would Inspector Javert were here, he would recognize me. He turned to the three convicts and said, Brevoort, do you remember those checkered knee suspenders that you had in the galleys? Brevoort was struck with surprise. Chandeleur, the whole of your left shoulder had been burnt deeply. Is this true? It is true, said Chandeleur. Cockapale, you have a date on your left arm. Lift up your sleeve. Cockapale lifted up his sleeve. The date was there. See clearly, said he, that I am Jean Valjean. It was evident that Jean Valjean was before their eyes. The appearance of this man had been fully enough to clear up the case, so obscure a moment before. I am going, since I am not arrested, continued Jean. Monsieur, the prosecuting attorney knows where I am going, and will have me arrested when he chooses. He walked towards the outer door, he went out, and the door closed as it had opened. Less than an hour afterward, the verdict of the jury discharged from all accusation the said Champetue, and Champetue, set at liberty forthwith, went his way stupefied, thinking all men mad. I hope you're able to understand the parts very easily. If you have any questions, please do write in the comments down below, and we will meet you in the next one. Till then, bye bye. Take care.